Okay, can we talk about Kate for a second?
Sure.
Because the reason I was using Kate was because I wanted to download a script from GitHub that I wanted to run. Can I just say for a moment that, no offense, development community, but the fact that on GitHub a script doesn't just download in a text format is the stupidest thing I have ever seen.
Acquiring things off of GitHub is a little weird.
It's actually brain dead.
Yeah.
That when you download a script, it downloads as an HTML file. And then the best part is that on Linux, file extensions don't mean file extensions. File extensions mean a helpful little hint about what might be inside it. So it's literally got a text file or like a script file. I forget what the extension is, But when you try to actually run the script, it's like, this is an HTML file. And I'm like, why is this an HTML file? Why is it that the way that I acquire the script is to copy paste it into Kate and then save it as that extension and then run it? Why is it so ass backwards?
Everyone's calling you stupid because you didn't click get raw. But it's one of those things that are it's a user experience thing, right? Like if you're very used to GitHub, yeah, it's not a big deal. But if you're a new user to GitHub, it is genuinely an odd experience to get things from GitHub. It is.
Oh, that's great. So raw does, I still have to copy paste it. What are you talking about? Unless I guess you could right click and save link as sh file. Okay, is that going to be a proper script, or is that just going to be another HTML file?
I haven't done that in a long time, but I think it should be okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget how I ended up actually downloading it.
People are saying like, or curl, W get the link, etc., etc.
Yeah, sure.
The problem with a lot of this stuff is
you have to know.
Yes.
You have to already know. Yes. And if you don't already know, it's not obvious.
To be a very difficult thing to get across in this video because a very large amount of people will just not accept that.
I know. And it's like back to Rich 77's comment. We're here for you. We're here for you until you do something not exactly the way that we think you should do it. Yeah. But the reality of it is, guys, is developers do not get to pick how users interact with their product.
And there's a lot of stuff like I was looking up potential solutions to a couple problems that weren't like it was where the user experience wasn't like kind of 100% up to par with what I would want. It wasn't that it wasn't working.
Yeah,
it's that I thought it could probably work better maybe if I did some work on it. And through Googling, almost all of the solutions that I found were telling people to go. It's like, here's a link to the homepage of the wiki for this thing.
Yeah.
Go have fun. Which, you know what? If I'm in a tinkering mindset, fantastic.
Yeah. But if I just want to play my video game right now,
not fantastic.
Not great. This was a really good one. I found a guide for how to fix something, and it was like, okay, run this script. Like, how? How do I run a script? I have never run a script on Linux before. And if I can't even manage to get a properly formatted script file because I keep downloading it as an HTML, even though the extension was SH, but it wouldn't run because it was an HTML file hidden inside it. That is not intuitive. I mean, it's surprising to me that engineers and like science, I would think science-minded people would think a label should not mean what a label is. How could you possibly defend that? Defend a file extension that is not descriptive of what the crap the file is.
I haven't experienced this problem, so like I'm not really sure. LMAO making me facepalm. There's a lot of comments like that. There's a lot of comments that are like RTFM, and it's like, yeah, but the whole point of what we're currently analyzing is the new user experience, and people don't want to have to sit down and bust out the manual when they use a new thing.
Yeah.
And it's way better these days.
Sure.
Even compared to, I think the last time that I ran Linux seriously was probably 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's already way better. And like, yeah. I genuinely think that at least the distro that I'm using is outpacing what I think Windows is currently doing. I genuinely think that. I
Yep.
think they're moving faster. I think they're gaining features faster. I think they're on a really good pace. But in terms of user experience, especially new user experience, they are definitely clearly behind.
Hypercrusher says that's user error for not knowing how to use GitHub. No, it's not. It's absolutely not. Believe it or not, there's a whole wide world of people out there that have trouble figuring out where to find the photo they just took on their iPhone, let alone how to use GitHub. And as long as you hold on to that mentality that those people should just learn better,
Linux adoption is going to be very, very difficult and out of reach.
that's just the cold, hard truth. And you can not like it and you can sit and be angry about it or whatever. But that's it. That's it. The truth just is what it is. And you can accept it or you cannot accept it. It's that simple.
And there can always be distros and desktop environments, whatever, that are much more noob friendly and ones that are really hardcore. Like I think a pretty genuine user error would be to like, oh, I've never used Linux before and I'm not even very familiar with computers at all. I'm going to go to Arch. Like the whole internet did not tell you to do that.
No, nobody told you to do that.
One extremely simple Google search would have told you to specifically not do that.
Yeah.
So like,
sure,
figure it out. But there are desktop environments and distros, etc., that advertise themselves as user-friendly, and they're getting a lot better, and in a lot of ways they are, but they're not 100% there.
Yeah, Gremlin Injector put it really well. People are missing this. Normal users are not technical.
Yeah.
File extensions already are a pretty technical concept for most people. I mean, here, this is actually a really, this is kind of going to put us on a bit of a tangent here, but I was reading an interesting article where a professor was not complaining, but noticing, talking about, opening up a discussion about that many of the students coming through their classes were not familiar with the concept of a folder structure, like a folder tree. And I kind of went, what? I mean, this is a generation of people that have spent they've grown up their whole lives surrounded by electronics, and computers. How is it that they could
powerful search?
Yeah. Exactly. But even so, you can sit there and be elitist and go, not knowing how to use GitHub is user error, or you can recognize that these are people in university. And again, you can go, well, just because someone's in university doesn't mean that they're more educated. Well, actually, it means that statistically speaking, they are probably more educated than the people who are not.
Maybe just not in this particular...
Maybe not in this particular way. Believe it or not, there's a whole wide world out there of other things that people spend their time and energy on. What? Right?
No
I know,
way.
it's crazy, right? And so it's not that mind-blowing, even though for me it was this utterly alien concept for someone to not actually have a very good understanding of the folder structure. Because even the fact, like, it reminds me of how, there's that anecdote that's been floating around, who knows if it's actually true, where the kid asks their dad why they have a 3D printed save button, when they find a floppy disk, right?
Yeah.
The very concept of a folder structure is archaic. When's the last time you had a folder nested inside a folder with a bunch of files in it, right? Like that's very 1980s. That is 40 years ago, right? When that idea of paper filing just being a fact of life that everyone is familiar with was a thing. I mean, when I was a kid, we still had phone numbers were still kept in a Rolodex, right?
Yeah.
And so this concept, this tactile experience of rifling through things to find things that you were looking for was very much a part of my childhood. But we've got an entire generation of people that just search for stuff.
Yep.
And you don't get to pick how the world uses things.
I think a really good example here is Tarfeef 101 on Flowplane said, and he's talking about GitHub.
Yeah.
He said, no, it really is user error because there is, and then in all capitals, no download button for individual files. You just did some really weird special stuff, like probably saving the entire web page, which is just as dumb as saving a YouTube page to try to get the video. A few messages further down, Furna 182, I'm a developer, and the whole save link as on GitHub and then getting the HTML inside of what I thought was the actual thing I was trying to download happened to me way more times than I'm willing to admit.
Of course it did.
It's just weird. It's not a fantastic user experience.
It's not.
Acquiring things off of GitHub is weird.
I couldn't find a download button, so my natural workaround was save link as. No, I didn't save the entire web page. How would I even do that? We're talking about mistakes that a technical but not developer person could make. I don't think most people are trying to download the entire web page. They're not. But right-click, save link as is a pretty decent workaround when, for whatever reason, you can't find a working download button, or like download's not working, or you want it to go faster, and there's like a delay if you like click through. It's a site you use all the time, and they have one of those like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 things. Like it's a workaround that people might be expected to be familiar with.
So he then replies to us saying this, but that's how browsers work, not how GitHub works. Examine all of the comments around your message.
Yeah,
that's the way I'm gonna answer that.
You've been roasted as much as you need to be roasted. You're cooked enough. We go any further, and
yeah, we're good.
That turkey's gonna be burned, not juicy anymore.
The answer is add a download button.
The answer is, why isn't there a download button, and why wasn't there a download button many years ago? That's the answer.
Way more obvious. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Anyways.
It's mind-blowing.
I will also point out that a lot of Floatplane people pointed out that it's very funny that one of the difficulties that you've been having with Linux is GitHub, because Microsoft owns GitHub. That is quite entertaining.
Well, okay, to be clear, I didn't say it was an issue with Linux. So my issue with Linux was that it wasn't obvious where to like put a script to run it.
Right. Yeah.
Like
would you have needed that script on Windows?
No.
It's part of the experience.
Okay, I guess that's fair.
I would argue like finding scripts online to do things for you is probably part of the experience.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. Expecting the average user to run a script. I mean, the problem with scripts is there's such an enormous like security problem too. Because just copying and pasting scripts off the internet, to be clear, like I'm doing it, but you shouldn't. That's not a good best practice. Again, that's the kind of crazy sort of I don't know what to call it. Is it doublespeak? Is it?
Linux, yeah.
It's one of the most contradictory things about the Linux community is that on the one hand, it's like it's open source. It's all about security and privacy. And all of these sort of pillars.
A lot of that is genuinely okay.
And on the other hand, it's like the only way to do basic stuff is to, unless you are an extremely technical user, like a part-time developer, is to download random scripts off the internet and execute them in a terminal as a super user. Like, are you serious right now?
A lot of the security stuff is that you assess that script, and that I know. I'm just saying. I know.
That's like saying the safest car is the one that you just build yourself.
Like
most people shouldn't build a car.
Like, like I don't want to spoil this too much.
Oh no!
But just for some context, remember the screenshot I sent you?
No, I'm sorry. You're supposed to be a security professional. Every user should be a digital security professional.
Oh no. They're gonna hate us so much. It's gonna be a problem. I'm trying. Honestly, my experience so far has been pretty clean.
Oh my goodness.
Remember when you sent me the videos of the problem?
Yeah.
And I sent you the screenshot back?
Yeah. Yes.
So they're expecting you to read all that.
I know. The funny part is you saw how far I scrolled through that, right? Like,
there's a lot, but they're expecting you to read it.
That's like literally I forget if it made it all the way to the Supreme Court, but like literally the American judicial system has decided that EULAs are not enforceable because nobody reads anything that long.
And that includes agreeing to things
when you're executing a script.
In basically any scenario. A lot of people too long didn't read, even if it's only a few lines. And sometimes it's a lot more than a few lines. So, I don't know.